Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tina, and today I am going to be doing my April, May wrap-up slash June TBR. I know I'm late on the whole April wrap-up. Obviously it's June already, but I did read quite a bit of books in April, so I wanted to include those books along with the books that I read in May, and then talk about June's TBR. So if you are here for that, please go ahead and keep on watching. Also subscribe if you haven't already. If you do like the video at the very end of the video, then please give this video a thumbs up. So yeah, if you're all here for it, I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into it. All right guys, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. I did include April's books in my wrap-up for May because I did read quite a bit of books in April and I didn't get to really talk about them at all on my channel. So I wanted to include my April wrap-ups, and I know I'm totally late on that, but hey, why not go ahead and talk about the books that I read in April as well. We're gonna go ahead and jump right into the books for April that I read. I don't physically have the books, some of these books with me. Most of the books that I did read were from the library that I checked out, and then the others were my copies that I just was too lazy to grab off my bookshelf to show you, but I will insert a picture either right here or right here so that way you guys know what I am talking about. So in April, I decided to join the magical readathon hosted by Book Roast. If you don't know who she is, I will link her channel or that video down below so you guys can check it out. She does have another one coming up soon in August, I believe. Her magical readathon is based off of the owls in Harry Potter and the newts, so I was a part of the owls and I can't wait for the newts. So yeah, in April I did read quite a bit, like I said, because I joined that magical readathon, and that was my very first ever readathon ever to join in on, and I really enjoyed it. During my reading time, I didn't feel like I was being forced to read, which is amazing. So yeah, if you want more information on that, I definitely will leave that down below, and she'll go in depth with the whole entire magical readathon because it'll be way too long for me to talk about it. So we'll go ahead and jump right into the first book that I read in April. The first book that I read was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I know this book has been circulating BookTube a lot, and I see why. This book was a really good book. I hadn't planned on reading it until it was one of the picks that I chose for the subject for the owls in the magical readathon, which I'm so glad that I did choose to read it because the book was really good. Basically, well, let me go ahead and let you know, I'm not gonna go into in depth with the stories with all the books because I don't want this video to be so long, but I will give you my thoughts on it and I will give you what I rate it as. So yeah, I will give maybe a little bit of backstory on it, but not too much because we all know I am not great at giving summaries, but hey, we're just gonna go ahead and roll with it. I'm all relaxed right now. So yeah, The Hate You Give is basically about a teenage girl who witnessed her childhood best friend get shot by a cop, and throughout the whole story she is struggling with being two different people. Her and her family reside in a very ghetto area, and she goes to a school in a more upscale rich area, so she has to basically be two people all the time, and it gets really frustrating for her because she doesn't want to have to pick and choose who she has to be, going through this whole entire situation, also learning about police brutality, so yeah, and the unfairness in the justice system. So I really loved the book. I did watch the movie. I'm really gonna have to say that I liked the book better than the movie. For my own personal opinions, the movie still was good, but I really felt more of the emotions in the book. So I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars because it was really a good book. If you haven't read it yet, I suggest you really do read it. In my personal opinion, if they cleaned up the language a little bit in the book, I really feel like this book should be something read in English in school. So yeah, that was the first book that I read in April. The second book I read was Paper Towns. And let me just say, I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I did get other people's opinions when I posted this book on my Instagram that it was my next read, and a lot of people told me that it was probably something that I wouldn't like because a lot of others hadn't liked it. So I didn't base my own opinion off of theirs because I feel like everybody has their own opinions. What somebody won't like, another person might like. So I still decided to give it a chance because it's what I chose for the next subject that I was doing in the Magical Readathon. As I got towards like the middle of the book, I was literally thinking about DNFing the book because it was taking so long to get to the like actual plot of the story. So basically this book is about a teenage boy who goes out and finds his friend. She has run away, but he thinks that she has left him clues around to find her, so that way he knows where she's at. I'm not gonna really go too into the story because if you do plan on reading it, I don't want to spoil it, but all I can say is that the ending made me so mad. But I did watch the movie after I read the book, and I will say I liked the movie a whole lot more because the movie was quicker, obviously, but the ending, that is a whole other frustration. And this is one of those endings that was kind of like not really a happily ever after type of ending, but kind of a happily ever after, just a totally different type of happily ever after. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move along because that book was like, yeah, was not good for me. The next book that I read was Four Colored Girls. This book was very, very powerful to me. I've actually watched the movie a long time ago, but I saw this at the library and I decided to pick it up and give it a go because it's been so long since I've watched the movie. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. The only reason why I rated it a 3 is because of the writing style. This book is poetry. So I'm not saying that I don't like poetry, it's just kind of hard for me to read poetry format, being that sometimes I have to reread a whole paragraph over and over and over for me to finally get what they're trying to say. And I know that probably sounds pretty sad, but I'm just really that type of person that's like, it takes me a while to understand what somebody's trying to say, especially when they're saying it in a certain way. So I gave that book a 3 out of 5 stars. But overall, the story is basically about 4 women who are going through their own tragedies in their life, but somehow they are connected to one another. And they end up discovering one another, and when they discover one another, they're already at their last point where they just don't want to be here no more, but they lift each other up and push through all their bad that's going in their lives and really are leaning on one another to grow and just accept life as it is and just keep it pushing. So the only bad thing about it was that it was in poetry format, and not, like I said, I'm not trying to knock down poetry. I do have another poetry book on my bookshelf, but it's just kind of hard for me to understand that dialogue, if that makes sense. It takes me a while to gather what they're trying to say. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and move on from that. The next book I read was one of my childhood favorite reads. I used to read these all the time, and I was kind of looking for a nostalgic type of read. These last 2 books are pretty much just like books that I read for fun, because we were at the end of the month, and I just kind of wanted to keep the reading momentum going without having to dive into something so heavy. So I don't know if you guys know about the Adventures of the Bailey Kids. I think that's what the book company is called, I guess. But the first one was Leprechauns Don't Play Basketball. If you haven't read these books, these were my all-time favorite books in school. I really loved these books. Anytime that we went to the library in school, I always went for these books. If I wasn't reading these books, I was reading Junie B. Jones, but I did read this one, and I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars only because it is a child's book, and it was like really quick, and they're mystery books, so the mystery was very fast. Of course, they have to make it easier on the kids to be interested in reading it, and to keep that interest going until the very end. So the next one that I read, and the last one that I read in April, was another of the Bailey's Elementary School mystery. I'll definitely have it the actual book so you guys can see. It's Wizards Don't Need Computers, and again I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars because same reason. It's a quick mystery, but like I said, it's meant for kids, and kids who read it will probably find it more interesting than I do. I found it interesting when I was a kid. Now that I'm an adult, it's totally different, but I still loved it, and I finished it fairly quickly. Obviously they're very short stories. So yeah, that was the end for April. I only read 2 books in May. I kind of wanted to give my brain a little rest and not really dive into heavy books, but I did read The Hunger Games, the very first one. I have watched the movies already, but I wanted to get more facts about the movie and really understand the whole Hunger Games situation. I've watched all the movies already, and I love the movies. I will say I do love the books, and I'm glad I read the first book. I'm glad I read it. It gave me a whole other perspective on, and it made me understand the movie a little bit more. I do wish that Peeta would have been more what they put him as in the book. I really wish he would have been more in the movie, especially at the end of the games. But other than that, I feel like the book was pretty spot on for the movie. Just a little bit of tiny things that were different, but honestly, the book and the movie are pretty spot on. So the last book that I read in May was Radio Silence. That book was such a fast read for me. I really enjoyed that book. I enjoyed it because I feel like I can relate to the main character. Actually, I can relate to both characters. Sometimes you're scared to be who you really are because you don't want to be judged by people, especially by your loved ones. So I can totally relate to that. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars because it was a really good read. I feel like I connected with the characters on so many levels. If you guys haven't read that book, I highly suggest it. It does deal with a little bit of anxiety, and if you're not mentally prepared for that, I suggest you not read it. But other than that, if you know that you are in a good state of mind, I suggest you read that book. I think it's so cute, and like I said, me being 27, I related a lot, and still, as when I was a teenager, and still now, I relate a lot. So yeah, that was it for my April-May wrap-ups. I know, guys, I will get better at this, so don't hate me, just bear with me. I will do better. I plan on doing a whole lot better. I've made a bullet journal for this month, so that way I can write down what I read, anything interesting, so that way whenever I come back to you guys and do my next wrap-up, I can be right on point. We're gonna go ahead and jump into what I plan on reading for this month. It's not gonna be a long TBR list because I don't want to overwhelm myself and feel like I have to read these. So yeah, the first book that I'm gonna read is Caravel by Stephanie Garber. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I have already started reading it. I think I've only read 24 pages. It sounds very interesting. I really still don't know much about it. Just so far, we're still at the beginning for me to say that it's good, but the synopsis, it was really interesting, excuse me, to me. So that is the first book that I plan on reading for the month. So yeah, keep a lookout for my thoughts and opinions on this. Next book I do plan on reading, like I told you guys before, I wanted to try and read the Fallen series again, but I wanted to like stretch it out and read a book a month, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna go ahead and jump back onto the first book, and this is The Fallen by Lauren Kate. If you guys haven't read this book, you should read it. This is a really good book, and I'm gonna rave about it until more people talk about it. So if you're gonna get tired of hearing me talk about it, then I'm sorry, but not sorry, because I really love this book, this whole entire series. The next one that I am planning on reading is the next book to the Hunger Games, and this is the Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Like I said, I did read the first Hunger Games, so I am definitely ready to jump on it and read the next one and see what's more in the book that's not in the movie, or if it's going to be pretty spot on like the first one. I absolutely love the Hunger Game books. I cannot wait to read it, and just, yeah, these are really good movies. So if you haven't seen the movies, I suggest you see the movies. I think that is it. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. I know that was fairly quick, but hey, that's all I got to say. So I'm gonna go ahead and start some reading. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.